My name is Lucy Carter, and I am a high school science teacher in Minneapolis. I've always considered myself to be a reasonable, skeptical person. After all, I teach biology and chemistry. However, an event I experienced 2 years ago transformed my outlook on life, death, and spirituality. It was Saturday morning in October. I was out for my customary weekend exercise through the park near my house. Everything appeared regular at first. It was a crisp autumn day with leaves crackling beneath my feet. But about a mile in, I immediately felt a sharp pain in my chest. I initially believed I had simply pushed myself too hard, but within seconds I was unable to breathe. The agony was severe. I collapsed on the path and clutched my chest. The last thing I remember is a jogger rushing over to me and saying something about phoning before everything went black. Next thing I knew, I was floating above my body. I could picture myself laying on the path, surrounded by paramedics. They were using a defibrillator on me, but I felt entirely distant from everything. I wasn't afraid or in agony anymore. I simply felt peaceful, curious even. Then I felt myself being dragged above and away from the spectacle. Everything around me got incredibly light. I was speeding through this tunnel of light. When I exited on the other side, I found myself in the most gorgeous place I'd ever seen. It's difficult to put into words. The colors were brighter than anything on earth. The undulating hills were covered with lush grass and flowers of every color conceivable. The sky was not just blue, it shimmered with golden light. In the distance, I could see magnificent mountains and glittering waterfalls. The air felt alive, gleaming with electricity. But what struck me the most was the overpowering sense of love and acceptance that pervaded everything. I felt utterly at peace, as if I had finally arrived home after a long journey. I was greeted by multiple entities of light. They did not have distinct physical bodies, but instead appeared as brilliant, shimmering entities. I knew they were my ancestors and loved ones who had died before me, and they interacted with me telepathically, greeting me and telling me how proud they were of the life I had led. But then another figure appeared, one who outshone the rest. I instantly knew. This was Jesus. His presence was overwhelming, pure love and compassion unlike anything I'd ever felt. He embraced me, and I felt all of my worries, anxieties, and pain melt away. Jesus began to show me scenes from my life, both good and awful. However, there was no judgment, just compassion and understanding. He helped me realize how my struggles and failures had resulted in growth and learning. Then he took me to this amazing library. The walls extended up eternally, packed with volumes that hold all of the universe's information. Jesus told me that I could explore and learn everything I desired. While browsing the shelves, I came across a book on the nature of God and Jesus' life on Earth. That's when a question came to me, one I'd often pondered about but never really understood. It was like watching a movie about my entire life, but I wasn't just viewing it. I was reliving every event, feeling every emotion. The surprising thing was that I could sense how my actions influenced others, both positively and adversely. I witnessed instances where a simple act of compassion on my part had a good ripple effect on people I'd never met. But I also saw instances in which I had injured someone with a careless remark or action, and I could feel their pain as if it were my own. What impressed me the most was that Jesus did not pass judgment. He showed me these scenes with total affection and compassion. Even my missteps and failures were seen as opportunities for improvement and learning. There was one that really resonated with me, and it was a fairly inconsequential experience from my undergraduate years. I was rushing to class and hardly saw a freshman girl who appeared disoriented and on the point of tears. I could have stopped to help, but I was preoccupied with my own agenda and sped past. During the life review, I felt the girl's loneliness and desperation. I learned. She had considered quitting out of college that day, feeling overwhelmed and out of place. A little act of compassion may have had a great impact. But the scene did not finish there. Jesus showed me how that girl eventually recovered her footing, graduated, and went on to become a successful therapist who helped countless others. He stated that, while my inaction had created temporary suffering, it did not define or limit her experience. If we allow it, every difficulty has the potential to lead to growth. In high school, I helped a poor student in chemistry. I had forgotten about it, but during the life review, I realized how that act of patience and encouragement kindled his interest in science. He later became a researcher, concentrating on remedies for children's ailments. Jesus demonstrated how one small act of compassion had a positive ripple impact on countless lives. It emphasized the importance of every interaction. No matter how small, it has the power to transform someone's life. That is wonderful. It appears that this life review offered you a new perspective on the consequences of our activities. Absolutely. It reminded me that there is no such thing as an insignificant moment. Every word, every action, and every decision counts. We are all interconnected in ways we cannot understand. It's also helped me be more mindful in my daily life. I strive to approach each meeting with compassion and presence, knowing that I might be part of someone else's pivotal moment. I've also learned to be much softer with myself, seeing that even my failures can lead to growth and positive change if I learn from them. Jesus explained that prayer has far more power than most people understand. It's more than just asking for things. It's about aligning our will with God's and taking part in His mission in the world. He showed me a vision of prayers rising from the earth like light beams, intersecting to form a beautiful tapestry. Some prayers were answered quickly, while others triggered a series of events that would play out over time. Jesus stated, "Prayer is co-creation with God. When you pray, you're not just passively hoping for something to happen. You're actively partnering with the Creator of the universe to bring about change." He highlighted several crucial aspects, the first of which was to pray with faith and expectation. "Know that you are heard," he told me. Approach prayer not as a beggar, but as a beloved child, coming to a loving Father who delights in giving good gifts. He also emphasized the need of persistent prayer. He explained how certain prayers are like seeds that take time to germinate and grow. "Don't give up if you don't see results immediately," he told me. "Keep praying, keep believing, and watch for how God moves in unexpected ways." Third, he promoted prayer in accordance with God's desire. "Seek first to understand my heart and my purposes," answered the Lord. "As you do, you'll find your prayers naturally aligning with what I want to do in the world." Finally, he underlined the power of collective prayer. "When two or more people agree in prayer," he continued, "it creates a spiritual synergy that can move mountains." I used to pray occasionally, typically when I needed it. Something. Now it's as natural and consistent as breathing. Throughout the day, I am in constant communication with God, sharing my views, seeking advice, and simply enjoying His presence. I've also grown much more responsive to prompts to pray for others. Sometimes I receive a sudden inclination to pray for someone, only to discover later that they were experiencing a crisis at the time. It has helped me realize how spiritually related we all are. It was mind-blowing. The library seemed to stretch indefinitely in all directions. There were volumes on every subject imaginable, including history, physics, philosophy, and art, as well as topics we had yet to discover on Earth. Jesus said that the library represented all of creation's wisdom and knowledge. He stated, "What you see here is only a tiny percentage of the knowledge available in the spiritual realm. You'll have the opportunity to explore and learn endlessly." Jesus encouraged me to browse and ask questions about everything I was interested in. I was pulled to a portion discussing the nature of reality and awareness. As I opened one of the books, the material appeared to flow right into my head. It was like downloading pure knowledge and comprehension. I discovered that what we consider solid matter is mostly empty space, vibrating with energy. Our consciousness influences reality far more than we realize. The book explained how our thoughts and beliefs literally shape our perceptions of reality. There was a book about the interdependence of all life. It demonstrated how every living thing, from the smallest microbe to the greatest galaxy, is part of a single huge conscious living system. We are all unique expressions of the same fundamental awareness. This book also discussed how love is the underlying power that ties everything together. It's more than an emotion. It's a physical energy that penetrates the entire cosmos. He highlighted that ongoing growth and learning are essential parts of our everlasting path. He stated, "The pursuit of knowledge and wisdom does not end when you leave Earth. It is an eternal adventure." However, he also highlighted that all of this information eventually leads back to love. He said, "You can spend eternity exploring the mysteries of the universe, but the greatest truth you'll discover is that love is the foundation of everything." Initially, I was quite disappointed. The calm and love I felt in that universe were so overwhelming that I did not want to leave. However, as Jesus explained why he was sending me back, I became more excited and determined. He looked at me with love and said, "Lydia, you have a unique experience to tell now. Your experience here will bring hope and healing to many who are struggling with doubts, fears, and questions about the meaning of life." He showed me glimpses of people I would impact. A teenager contemplating suicide who would find hope through hearing my story. A grieving widow who would find comfort in knowing her husband was at peace. A hardened atheist whose heart would open to possibilities. Regarding my mission, Jesus gave me several essential messages to relay. The first was to remind people of God's unconditional love. "So many are weighed down by guilt and shame," the politician remarked. "Tell them there is no sin too great, no mistake too big for my love and forgiveness." Second, Jesus highlighted the need of prayer and staying connected to God. "Remind them that I am always listening, always present," he said. "Encourage them to approach me as a loving father, not as a distant judge." Finally, he emphasized the necessity of loving and helping others. "The greatest fulfillment in life comes from giving, not getting," the politician stated. "Encourage people to look for ways to be my hands and feet in the world." Finally, Jesus instructed me to tell the truth of eternal life. "Help people understand that death is not the end, but a transition," he suggested. "The choices they make on earth have eternal significance." I felt humbled and empowered. The burden seemed great, but I knew I wouldn't be doing it alone. Jesus promised to be with me, guiding and strengthening me every step of the way. As I was about to return, Jesus embraced me one last time. The love I felt in that moment was immeasurable. It permeated every aspect of my life. He said, "Remember this love. Let it fuel you and flow through you to others." One moment I was engulfed in pure love and tranquility, and the next I was gasping for oxygen and experiencing tremendous pain in my chest. The bodily sensations were overwhelming after being in such happiness. I recall opening my eyes to see the paramedic's face, which was filled with amazement and relief. He subsequently told me that they were about to call my time of death, when I gasped for air, and my heart began to beat again. The following several hours were a haze of ambulance sirens. There was bustle at the emergency room, and family members were worried. Throughout it all, I had a profound sense of tranquility. I realized I had been granted a second opportunity for a reason. At first, they were simply relieved that I was alive. The physicians had prepared for the worst, so my mere survival felt amazing. When I began revealing information about my encounter, replies were divided. My hubby has always been more spiritually inclined than I was curious and supportive. He stated he noticed a shift in me the instant I woke up, a sense of peace and certainty that had not there before. My folks were initially dubious. They're both retired scientists who prefer to seek scientific answers for everything. However, as they witnessed the tremendous changes in my life and learned some verified things I would not have known otherwise, they grew more open to the thought that something unusual had occurred. Some friends were uneasy with the notion and retreated. I believe the concept near-death experiences challenge many people's worldviews. Others, however, were greatly moved and stated that my experience provided them with hope and a fresh perspective on life and death. I used to be so focused on attaining and acquiring the next promotion, a bigger house, and more possessions. Now I know that none of this is actually important in the larger scheme of things. My priorities have entirely changed. I'm much more focused on relationships, being present in the moment, and finding ways to provide love and kindness to people. I've simplified my life significantly, letting rid of things that aren't important so that I can devote more time and energy to what is important. I'm also more aware of the spiritual side of life. I see proof of God's love and presence everywhere, in nature, in acts of compassion, and in the beauty of human creation. It's as if I'm viewing the world with new eyes, and I'm no longer terrified of death. Don't get me wrong, I'm not in any haste to leave this life. There's still so much I'd like to do and experience here. But I know that when my time comes, it will be a happy reunion, not a frightening end. As a science teacher, I am inherently skeptical and seek rational explanations. However, several elements lead me to believe that this was more than a hallucination. The first is the clarity and coherence of my experience. The comfort and particular instruction she provided far exceeded what a normal dream could provide. One of the most significant ideas I gained was regarding the purpose of life. I understood we are here to learn, grow, and, most importantly, love. Every event, whether joyous or unpleasant, provides an opportunity for soul growth. Regarding good and evil, I noticed that they are not equal opposing forces. Love, the essence of God, is the foundational reality. What we perceive as evil or darkness is simply the lack of love, just as darkness is the absence of light. As for suffering, I was told that much of it comes from our own choices, individually and jointly. When we choose fear over love, selfishness over compassion, we cause ripple effects of sorrow. But I also seen how, if we are willing, God can bring good out of even the toughest situations. I also got a sense of how restricted our worldly viewpoint is. Many of the things we describe as bad are actually catalysts for immense growth and positive transformation when considered from an eternal standpoint. I'd like to relay the most crucial takeaway from my experience. You are deeply and completely loved. You are infinitely valuable, regardless of what you've done or what you're experiencing. Don't wait till a near-death experience to begin living with purpose and love. Every day is a gift, an opportunity to learn, be nice, and make a difference in someone's life. Remember that reality encompasses far more than what we can see and touch. Be open to the mystery, to heavenly whispers in your daily life. Trust that you are on a path that will take you far beyond this life, and that each event is shaping you for eternity.